everyone out there. I'm Miss Pai, your MUET teacher. Now, for today's lesson, we are going to look at MUET Speaking Paper. Let's get familiarized with the format of this paper. We have two parts to this paper. Part 1 is called the individual presentation, and part 2 is called the group discussion. Okay, let us take a look at the individual presentation first. In this part, students will be given a situation or a problem to solve. Let's have an example to explain this clearly. Look at the problem or situation given. You have a problem and you feel a bit sad. Suggest ways to make ourselves happy. What could make us happy? Now, students, you don't have to think very hard for the answers. The answers are all given to you. If you notice here, candidate A will talk about going shopping. Candidate B will talk about going for a vacation. Candidate C will talk about watching movies. And candidate D will talk about doing gardening. So what do you need to do here? You need to elaborate on each point given to you. Of course, according to your roles, whether you are candidate A, B, C, or D. Make full use of the 2 minutes given. Many of you would ask, how can I do well for this individual presentation? Well, I am going to share with you now some tips and pointers about how to do a good job for part 1. Ready? First tip, like I said just now, use the full 2 minutes given to you. Don't cut short on your presentation. Remember, you need to elaborate thoroughly. So, what can you do? You explain everything in detail. Explain your reasons. Give the examples. In fact, give a lot of examples if you can. And don't forget to relate what you say with what is going on around you. Tip number 2, be accurate or correct in your use of vocabulary. What do I mean by that? Here, let me give you an example. Take a look at the word people in these examples. Sentence 1. The location of the hospital building is important for people to come and get treated. Sentence 2. People from all over the world come to Malaysia to enjoy the scenery and the food. Now, students, let me ask you something. Is the word people in the 2 sentences mean the same group of people? You are right. They definitely are not the same people. So, the next question is, what can you do to make better your sentences? Let's try this. Let's change the word people just now to a different word so that the sentences would be more accurate. For sentence 1, let's change the word people to patients. P-A-T-I-E-N-T-S. Here's the revised sentence. The location of the hospital building is important for patients to come and get treated. Now, doesn't that sound better? Next sentence 2. We substitute the word people with tourists. Tourists. Tourists from all over the world come to Malaysia to enjoy the scenery and the food. Now, which sentence do you like better? Surely the revised and the second one, right? So this means you need to be precise and correct when using certain vocabulary. Do not use a word that is too general or does not fit in the context. Of course, this vocabulary tip can also be used for part 2, the group discussion. Now we move on to part 2, the group discussion. Here you are given a mind map where an issue is given. It is interesting to know that part 2 is actually thematically linked to part 1. What does that mean? Thematically linked. Well, it simply means that the topic from part 1 will have a little bit of connection to part 2. Okay? For example, let us take the previous part 1 topic we used previously. What are the things that make us happy? So for part 2, we will be looking at a similar topic, only this time it asks about mental health. You do see the connection between being happy and mental health, don't you? Okay. Let's go through this question together. The question asks you to choose the best way to maintain a good mental health. The methods are as stated in the mind map: regular exercise, proper diet, stress management, healthy relationships, and also consulting specialists. So in this section, we will have to decide on our point of view. Support it with logical and rational reasons and try to convince others to agree with our point. Easy enough? Any tip you ask? To do a good job for part 2, you must understand and remember what a group discussion is. A group discussion is an interaction between a group of people on a given subject. Normally, in a discussion, the people involved will present their opinions, ask for others' point of view, and most of the time too, they will agree or argue on other people's opinion. Well, generally, in a discussion, people are talking to each other. So everyone, please remember this. In part 2, the group discussion, you need to be doing all this. Talk, discuss, communicate with one another. So pointer number 3, to perform well for part 2, you need to listen to what each other is saying and respond appropriately to that. Remember, the key word here is to listen and respond properly. You can do this, right? All right, now for tip number 4. take care of your non-verbal communication. What's that, you say? Well, simply put, non-verbal communication is your body language, your hand gestures, your eye contact, or even your nodding. Why is all this important? All this will reflect your confidence. Imagine a person who speaks to you but not looking at you. What do you think about this person? You might think that he or she is either a shy person, or not interested in talking to you, right? When speaking, either in part 1 or part 2, you need to look at people around you. Have some eye contact with them. Talk to them, not to the table. Okay? Well, I guess that's it for today's lesson. Let's recap what we have covered today. MUET Speaking Paper has 2 parts: the individual presentation and the group discussion. Among the tips that I've shared with you are 1. To use the full 2 minutes. 2. Choose words and vocabulary accurately. 3. For discussion, listen and talk to each other. And finally, to take care of your non-verbal communication. You got that, everyone? Well, till we meet again next time, do your very best for your test, okay? Have a good and productive week ahead. I see you when I see you. Bye-bye.